Speaking of the media, Skip Bayless obviously got a lot of attention for his tweets last night. And I think what's important for people to understand is that the way our society is set up is a lot of times we're waiting for the person or individuals or companies or whatever it may be to mess up. That way we can, jump on them. And secondly, I think as an individual, sometimes you build up such ill will from the general community that it isn't your worst um, action that causes the most outrage. It's just the timing of something that you do is what kind of pushes it over the top. Now, sometimes that's fair and sometimes that's unfair. I think there are times that people hate on people just because they're successful, just because they're rich, just because they're talented, and it could be something that they know is not true or as bad as it's being made out to be, but they amplify because of that jealousy and that hate. That's not necessarily the case with Skip. I think there are definitely some things that Skip has said and done throughout his career that makes the anger towards him valid. I think other times, Skip just knows how to play the game and has made a lot of money off of that, and that makes people upset. It makes people upset, and I've mentioned this many times before, and now I'm actually starting to wonder, am I one of these people? In the sense that oftentimes the people that are the most hated are the ones that make the most money, are the ones that are the most famous, are the ones that have the biggest exposure. And I've said that before, and then I remember somebody recently was like, do you put yourself in that, category? And I think about it for a minute. I've been in this game for 18 years now, and I'm doing pretty well for myself. And I got a lot of detractors, but I'm not like Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless or anything like that. But I'm doing pretty well. But whatever the case, I mean, those are just the facts. The facts are, things that people say they hate the most are normally they're very successful. I mean, Trump became president. Tucker Carlson makes a whole lot of money. Clay Travis is on Fox FS1, Fox Sports, college football. Skip makes $6-7 million a year. I I don't like to necessarily put Stephen A. Smith in that category because I do think he works really hard, but he also says some crazy stuff, and he makes $12 million a year. And like I never count other people's pockets because it's like, it's not my money, and obviously they're famous for a reason. But with Skip, I see the game. I've always have. I've told people this. Skip is self-important because you make him self-important. You make him self-important. That's why he makes all the money. Now, I think what happened last night was Skip tweeted the same way that Skip always does, but this time we're talking about life and death. So, when you're talking about life and death, you have to be extremely careful about how you word things. And Twitter is not the place to expect people to understand context. So, in this case, if you're a media person and you're not like a terrible, person, you just say, prayers up. You give the facts of what you know, and you kind of stay back. Because you don't want to be the guy. There's another guy from ESPN. I don't know what his name is, but I know immediately while all this was going on, I mean, start the game. I got a parlay going. So you gotta think. You gotta take your time. I think that's one of the most important things that I've learned is that really think about what you're saying. Because you could say the most mundane thing and your haters and your detractors and the people that are jealous of you and all of this stuff, they're going to come after you. I remember I told people, this was before the Celtics coach, before everybody knew all of what details they end up knowing, right? I remember I tweeted very generic. I said it's more complicated, more complex than what is being reported. Now, this was 100% factual as we found out. But, you got bitter people out there. Rob did this and Rob said that and such and this is this and why has he still got a platform? Da 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 da. Because they're evil. They're bitter. They don't like to see other people succeed. And like I said, in Skip's case, I mean, some of this stuff is valid. What he said in context, I think most people understood. But when you're talking about life and death and you already have a reputation of someone that's insensitive, you can't just say stuff like that and think it's going to, fly. And a lot of people ask me, why doesn't Shannon Sharpe just, quit? He got his, Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Famer, a lot of connections in the NFL, has been on, NFL Today, all these other, TV shows before, has a very popular, podcast. I think his interview with Deion Sanders got something like 5 million views or something like that. More than what Undisputed gets on a daily basis. Well, first off, it's these things called contracts. If you sign a contract, if you can quit anything. You retire at anything, right? But he won't be able to work. If he signed, I don't know how long his contract is, but he signed a 3-year contract, wouldn't be able to work for 3 years. And who set up the podcast? Is FS1 or Fox, or are they providing the studio, the lighting, the money behind it, the funding? See, it's more than what It's more than just, I can just walk away. He didn't come on the show today, and I think that had less to do with Skip and more to do with he's a football player, and he doesn't want to talk about LeBron on the day after this happened. His brother, and I remember this vividly as a kid, his brother was almost paralyzed on the field. Sterling Sharpe cost him his career, which was going to be a Hall of Fame career if he would have continued out. There was a time that people actually debated who was the better wide receiver, Jerry Rice or Sterling Sharpe. That's how good, he was. But once again, you give these media people too much power. You give them too much power. Skip shouldn't have that much power over you. Stephen A shouldn't have that much power over you. They shouldn't have that much power over you. Because of that, that's why they're making the money that they do. Your best bet, if you want Skip or someone like this, if you stop acknowledging him, talking about him, putting his name in the papers, as they used to say, then the networks won't see the value in him, and he'll go away.